Dr. Janet Spriggs, if you do not know her, she is the president of Forsyth Tech Community College. And she is just, I mean, follow her on LinkedIn. You're about to see something incredible. She is a true leader. And I was thinking about this morning because there's a lot of signs of a great leader, right? And so how does one end up with that moniker, right? You don't usually assign it to yourself, right? Someone else usually assigns it to you. And when I think about the tenets of leadership and what makes a great leader, one of the things that really stands out to me is the people who you attract and the people you choose to surround yourself with. And I happen to know, while I just met Dr. Janet Spriggs yesterday for the first time, I happen to know a number of the people who are on her team, the people who she's chosen, and the people that have chosen to be with her. And they are amazing people. So if that is a sign of a great leader, then I can vouch that Dr. Janet Spriggs is a great leader because of the quality of the team that she has built at FTCC. And in fact, don't just take my word for it. They won an award, an Achieving the Dream Award earlier this year, a true recognition of an incredible team. So let's give it up for Forsyth Tech, but even more so, let's give it up for Dr. Janet Spriggs.
Good morning, everyone. It's so good to kind of see you. The light means that I don't see your faces very clearly, but I'll do my best to connect and make eye contact. Thank you so much to Element 451, to Artis. Thank you, Mallory, for that great introduction. And thanks for the opportunity to be here with you today to talk about something that is really exciting, a little bit frightening, and a whole lot of fun as well. I'm appreciative of the opportunity. I want to start with this slide, and it's important for a couple of reasons this morning. First of all, it's important because there is my email address, jspriggs@forsythtech.edu. I would love to connect with you. I'd love to know what you're doing with AI to lead AI innovation at your institutions, and I'd love to connect with you for any kinds of work that we might be able to do that would impact students and student success. So keep that email address. The second reason that this is important is because I decided to use this picture as a lead-in to our conversation about innovation and transformation, and I have a story about why. Last Friday, I'm sitting at home with my husband. We've been married for 37 years and together for 4 decades together, right? I think that's amazing too, and you will in a minute as well, because here's how this story unfolds. We're sitting around and we're talking about our weekend and the wonderful things we're going to do. We got a busy weekend coming up. And I said, well, whatever we plan for tomorrow on Saturday, remember, I have a hair appointment at 4 o'clock. So we have to work around that. To which my husband says, good, I'm so glad you're finally going to do something about that hair. Right? To which I say, pardon? Right? Now, what's important to this story to know is that my husband is not from around here, right? I'm born and bred in North Carolina. He's from up north, Syracuse, New York. Great place, wonderful family. I love Syracuse, New York, and I love my in-laws. But they are not well versed in the subtle art of genteel Southern hospitality. He grew up in a direct household where they didn't even know there was a bush you were supposed to beat around, right? I thought I'd gotten that out of him, but obviously not. So after a lot of conversation that evening, I will translate for you what I figured out my husband was trying to say. So what he meant by get something done with that hair was, honey, you are beautiful no matter what color your hair is. And it's your decision what color your hair is. But I saw a picture the other day of when we were younger and you had that beautiful brown chestnut hair, and I was just thinking how great it would be to take that gorgeous brunette to dinner tomorrow night if you want to get your hair colored. So, long story short, that was his translation. Here's my new hair. Talk about transformation. Luckily for us, we're going to talk about transformation and innovation today. That's a lot more important than the color of my hair, I promise. But I thought that was a cute story. And he's watching online, so hi, honey, I just outed you to everybody. So, I want to tell you another story. This is a story about my childhood. So I grew up here in North Carolina, a tiny little town called Milton, North Carolina. And this is an idyllic picture that I asked ChatGPT to use DALL-E to create for you of one of the scenes in my brain when I think back about my childhood. I can remember this exactly. And I told DALL-E to create for me an idyllic, nostalgic scene of tobacco plants blowing in a breeze, maybe a barn in the background. I said, I want to be able to look at this picture, maybe in sunrise or sunset, and smell the crisp green leaves and the rich soil. So paint me that picture. And this is what it came up with, and it is beautiful, right? That looks beautiful. In reality, this is what my life was like on the tobacco farm. These are real photos of North Carolina tobacco farming around the time that I was growing up in the late 60s and through the 70s. This young girl in the top right with the white top on could be me. That was my job. I was the stringer, right? That was my job. How many of you have ever worked in tobacco? Anybody out here, tobacco farmers? There are a few of us out here. So you guys can decide if you agree with what I'm going to say. Here's what I remember most. I do remember some of those beautiful sunrises, although I will say I wasn't too happy about watching them at that moment. But here's what I remember. You have to take in your tobacco crops. You have to harvest the crop in the middle of the summer in North Carolina. It's going to be 100 degrees today, right? And it's June. The dog days of August were the worst, and it was hot. The other thing I remember is that it's dirty. Who's ever had tobacco gum? You guys that have worked in tobacco gum, you know what I'm talking about? It's this tarry, rubbery substance that gets on your hands from the leaves. And by the end of the day, it's literally an inch or more thick, and it takes forever. You would not have a manicure at all if you're working in tobacco. So that is what I remember. It was hard work. It was sun up to sundown. It was back-breaking labor. It was a wonderful life, don't get me wrong. I loved my family. I loved that I came from this, but I was always trying to figure out how I was going to get away from this because it was really, really hot, dirty, back-breaking work. So back then, I also used to be a fan of the Jetsons cartoons. You guys remember the Jetsons, right? I loved the Jetsons. I thought it was so amazing to even fantasize about machines flying in the air, right? Or talking on a phone and seeing the person you're talking to. Back in 1969 and 70, that seemed impossible. And my favorite part of the Jetsons was Rosie the robot because I wanted her so badly to do my chores for me. So I was thinking, as I was remembering back, and as I'm talking now in 2024, in the 21st century, about leading AI innovation in higher education, wouldn't it have been wonderful if we could have had some AI back then? And DALL-E created this for me too. Suppose back in those days I had these robots that could pick the tobacco, or the drones that could look at the crops and oversee and make sure things were going well for my father. I could have been sitting at Hyco Lake reading War and Peace and planning great things for the world, or volunteering at a nursing home, or doing something that was so much more exciting and cooler with air conditioning than what I was doing had we had this kind of technology back then. That's why, y'all, I think I get so excited about this moment in time and this place that we are at right now and what it can mean for all of us and for our students. Think about the doors that we are going to be able to open in the classroom and outside of the classroom, and how we're going to be able to support our students in so many more ways than what we've ever been able to dream about before. All those things that we used to dream being reality are now reality, right? I mean, before this keynote is over, I am likely for my phone to buzz, although it's on silent, so it won't, but my phone will likely go off, and my 2-year-old granddaughter will be FaceTiming me because she's figured out how to get into the emergency contracts and press the picture of Gigi and give me a call and ask me what Pop and that's my husband, Doug, and what Riley the dog are doing, right? She does it every day, several times a day. These digital natives are going to be using this technology. We've got to be ahead of them, or at least in line and aligned with them as we are supporting them. So this idea of the future of higher education in the classroom environment and the outside of the classroom environment, the doors are wide open. The possibilities we maybe haven't even imagined all of yet. And that's exciting. That is really exciting. But don't take it from me. Take a look at some of these slides, these quotes on this slide from some people that are much more well-known than I am, who talk about the role of AI in education. Just a few things that you see here. They talk about it being personalized instruction and personalized support for each student. They talk about empowering educators and supporting students in personalized ways. They talk about how we can extend learning outcomes and how we can level the playing field, closing achievement gaps. It talks about AI being able to enable new ways of learning and interacting that we have not yet imagined. That is exciting to me. And then there's this final quote at the bottom from Ray Kurzweil. Does anybody know Ray Kurzweil? You've heard of him, right? He was the director of engineering at Google. He's a futurist. He's been around a really long time, famous inventor. He invented the flatbed scanner. He invented the software that, the OCR software to digitize text. He worked with Stevie Wonder and invented some synthesizers, the Kurzweil synthesizers. And he's, back in the 90s, he made a ton of predictions about the future. He's 75 or 76 now, and he's still at Google. He's their chief AI researcher and visionary around AI. But back in the 90s, he made some predictions, and that's why I pay attention to him, because 86% of his predictions have come true already. And that's really a very good percentage for a futurist. So his quote is, AI is the future of human evolution. Now, that's a tad bit scary to me. I don't know if that is true or not, but I'm telling you that this really smart man hit a lot of things, nailed on the head for a lot of things from the 90s. He is famous for predicting that we would all walk around with portable computers, right? He predicted that the wireless networks would proliferate. He predicted that distance education would become commonplace. He predicted that you would have eyeglasses that would have computer screens in them. We have all these things. Now what he's saying is that we better be on the AI bandwagon if we're not, and we better be also looking at how we use it ethically and responsibly and put the guardrails around these things, because he believes, he wrote a book a few years ago called Singularity is Near. And singularity, his concept of singularity is that AI is the next evolution for humans, that we will evolve, right, with AI. There's a new book of his coming out July 16th called Singularity is Nearer, When Humans Merge with AI. Now, that's, again, a little bit nerve-wracking for me to talk about. The point is that there are so many people and there's so much possibility to this world of AI that I don't know that we've thought through exactly what it's going to be or what it's going to look like. And that's why, from the president's perspective, from the president of a premier institution, my Forsyth Tech team is in the house today. I heard them clapping for me. Thank you, guys. That is why it's important for us to harness the power of AI to stay ahead of, or at least aligned with where our students are going to use it and where it's going, because of what it can offer us and what we have the ability to do with it. These are some of the words from that slide. These are good words. AI can empower students. It can empower faculty to reach more students. These digital natives like my granddaughter, I grew up in talk and chalk in school. That's what we had, talk and chalk. That was it. You cannot reach students of the 21st century with chalk and talk. You know that, right? So we are empowered to use this AI in ways that can expand learning. We can enable our faculty and staff to have more time spent on the human part of the work we do, which, y'all, is the most important thing. I want advisors connecting with students and building relationships with students. I don't want them registering students for classes. Let AI or something else do that. Let's build relationships. We can personalize things and target our students. We can close achievement gaps because we are targeting different populations of students with what they need. We can focus on the human aspects and let the machines do the other things, take away the mundane tasks that we hate to do. We can level the playing field, y'all. We can level the playing field for the thousands of students who are in our schools and classrooms every day, the first person in their family to go to college, the low-income student that is going to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty because we're going to get them to a family-sustaining wage career. This is important from my perspective, and it should be, I think, important for all of us because of Jess, and because of Crystal, and because of Jalen, and because of Nathan and Kimberly. Those are just a few of my students and my graduates who are first-generation low income that are on a trajectory that's going to take them to a place that their families never dreamed of going. That's why harnessing AI and leading AI innovation in higher education is so important to us, in addition to the possibility that it's the future of human evolution. We'll see how that one goes. So if this is true, if AI is so exciting that opens up so many doors of possibility for us to advance greater levels of student success, then I suppose everyone in higher education is on board and using AI and ready to go, right? You guys should be. You're here at the AI conference, right? So you should be on this bandwagon. Here's what the survey says, so to speak. There was a survey last October by Lucian, and they asked administrators and faculty and staff, are you using AI? And 60% of us, the administration, said our institutions are using AI, 60% of us. However, when they talked to faculty and staff, they found that less than a third of the faculty and staff had actually engaged with AI, less than a third. And then out of that small percentage, 30% of them had basically just used it for information retrieval. So Google on steroids, right? That's all that they had used it for. There's so much more that you've talked about over the past couple of days and that you know about. The other thing that's interesting and very important for us to know is that while we might be a little bit afraid and nervous and not quite using it to its capacity, our students are using AI, right? In March of last year, Titan Partners did a survey, and they found that in the first 100 days of the launch of ChatGPT, over 30%, over a third of the students enrolled in college campuses across the country had already used AI. They were the early adopters. The general early adopter curve is about 15%, right, is an early adopter curve. However, only 9% of faculty and 8% of staff had engaged with AI. So we can't afford that kind of lag, that kind of innovation lag. We've got to keep up with our students, and we've got to put guardrails around what our students are doing and how we're engaging with it. So here is my question for all of us as we go through the rest of, I'm going to finish up my presentation and give you some time for questions. But as I do that, I want us to think about this particular question. What is it going to take for education to embrace AI and use it in all the ways that we can to empower and enable educators to create new ways of learning, to help us focus more on those human aspects of all the things that we will be freed up to do because of this powerful invention that we have at our fingertips. We can focus on then why learning is important, which is our students, and personalizing this experience for each and every student so that we can level the playing field. That's what I believe is at the core, answering this question is at the core of my perception or my engagement and desire to proliferate innovation around AI in higher ed. And it ties back to this central quote that I want to share with all of you today too. Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. So how do we embrace AI also so that we can ignite this curiosity for innovation and for new ways of thinking and doing and for capitalizing on all the possibilities at our fingertips for both students but also for all of us, staff and faculty. So I'm going to take us through a little bit of a mini case study to tell you about Forsyth Tech and some of the things we're doing to help give you a better idea of my ideas on why this is so important. First of all, this is Blaze in the middle, not Devin or Jenny, but the gray fox in the middle is Blaze, and she's so cool, right? I think she's cool. She's our mascot. She's the only female mascot in the state of North Carolina, except for NC State does have their little female wolf that goes along with their main mascot, but Blaze is the only female mascot in the state of North Carolina. She's going to be important to our story in just a few minutes, but just wanted to throw the picture out there. So here's what you need to know about Forsyth Tech. We are a purpose-driven institution. We know what we are here for. We know why we do what we do. We know where we're trying to go. On the left is the vision statement. Forsyth Tech is a catalyst for equitable economic mobility, empowering lives, and transforming communities. That's our vision, and that's where we're headed, the destination. We're going to get there because of that mission statement that you see, which says that be a catalyst for equitable economic mobility. We are going to focus on advancing student success through excellence in 4 key pillars of excellence: learning, completion, equity, and post-graduation outcomes. So that's our purpose, that's who we are, that's where we're going. We also have core values, things that are intrinsically important to each and every one of us who work at Forsyth Tech: excellence, learning, innovation, diversity, and integrity. We are the trailblazers, the Forsyth Tech trailblazers, and that tagline, hashtag a place of promise, is a marketing tagline, but it's really at the core and the heart of what we're all about, being a place of promise, loving and serving each and every student to success, no matter their background, no matter their socioeconomic status. So that's who we are. That means that I am the most fortunate president in all of the United States because I am surrounded by dedicated, committed people who are trailblazers and who are we have said that we are outlawing the phrase, the way I've always done it, because that's a dangerous phrase, right? It always has been. In today's world, it's even more dangerous. And instead, we are going to adopt a culture of curiosity that's not afraid to challenge the status quo. So that's the environment that I get to lead in, which is a blessing beyond measure. So when we started this conversation about AI, it did not originate from me. I did not start this. This was not top down. The cool thing about what we're doing with AI at Forsyth Tech is that it started from a group of champions of AI from within the college. Is Brandon Lloyd here today from Forsyth Tech? Brandon, are you here? Raise your hand if you are. I can't see with the lights, but Brandon was here at the conference. And he and a group of others, I think Devin was involved, Manny Ramirez from our faculty, got together and organically created an AI task force. And they said that the reason that we are getting together and we're creating this task force is We need to integrate AI in a responsible and meaningful way. It's not going away. It's going to keep getting bigger and growing. My friend Jamie Hunt did a presentation yesterday afternoon at the train station, and she said, listen, it's not that AI is the future. AI is here today shaping the future, and that's what these group of champions at Forsyth Tech understood. They said we've got to foster a culture of informed empowerment. We've got to talk about how we ethically use AI. We've got to talk about providing continuous learning for our faculty, staff, and students. And we've got to talk about how we use this to innovation, how we use this for innovation. That's how we're going to dive into the world of AI. So I learned a leadership lesson a long time ago, y'all. You hire the best people. You do whatever you can to hold on to them, support them, encourage them, inspire them, give them the resources. Get the hell out of their way, right? That's what we did. They have prepared us for the future of AI in higher education. They have committed to promoting a culture of informed empowerment. And with a group of people from all across the college, every division, they have developed these key initiatives already, and we're not done, right? They've got the task force. They've set up professional development. They're initiating awareness campaigns, trying to remove the fear that some people have about where this is going. They're collaborating with colleges and agency partners and industry partners. They're worried about data, privacy, and security, so they're working to make sure we're complying and that we're at the forefront of exploring how we integrate this AI. And they're drafting policies and procedures. That's probably the worst part for them, I'm sure. But they're using AI to do it. So, you know, it's not that bad. So look, in 9 months, here's just a few of the outcomes from all this hard work. There's Blaze again. So you heard yesterday, and you know about the Bolt bot, I think, right? Element 451's Bolt bot. We call it Blaze bot because we brand everything. Blaze bot in 9 months saved our student care reps, and many of our student care reps, and Lori Holmes and her team are here today, almost 70,000 minutes of answering the phone and answering basic questions and other more difficult questions for our student care reps. That's 70,000 minutes that our student care reps had back, not to twiddle their thumbs, but to talk to people in front of them and to engage in meaningful connections with our students. Out of 6,757 BlazeBot conversations, only 1,282 got referred to a student care rep because BlazeBot is smart and she's so sweet and polite. You may not be able to see this, but she's Southern. She understands the art of genteel Southern hospitality. Bless my husband's heart. So this is an actual conversation. Carolyn is evidently an adult learner who is coming back to school after many years away. And she's nervous, and she's got a disability, and she's wanting to know about, oh, I'm sorry, this is Wellington. Let me get to Carolyn. Sorry, this is Carolyn. She's wanting to know about what it's going to be like. And so she starts this conversation with BlazeBot. And one of the things she says is, I haven't been to school since 1991. And I got a text from the school to set up TechLink. She doesn't know how to do that, but BlazeBot does. And BlazeBot goes on and talks her through all these things. And she says at one point in this conversation, Carolyn says, I'm so afraid. I have a disability. I don't know if I'll be able to get around campus. And BlazeBot says something like, Carolyn, we know that we're going to need to make these kinds of accommodations for our students. We've got you. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And Carolyn says, I just don't know if I can do it. I haven't been in school. And BlazeBot says, you've got this and we've got you. I'm paraphrasing, but it's actual language here. At the end, Carolyn feels so much better. You can feel it in her words. And she says, thank you. Have a blessed day. She's so sweet. And BlazeBot says, thank you, Caroline. Have a blessed day, right? Caroline is going to come to Forsyth Tech and she's going to be successful, and I have to give BlazeBot some credit for that. This is another student who reached out in Spanish. You know, BlazeBot is multilingual. She can talk in any language that you have or that you ask a question in and give instructions back. These are things that are so remarkable and that are giving time back, I should say, to the rest of our staff and faculty. We also, I think you heard yesterday, we have adopted AI assistants. I think we've got 6 now. Over 35, accessible over 35 of our pages, things about they can get information, help with admissions or help with international students. Forsyth Tech Cares is our program of holistic wraparound support services. Students who may be struggling with food insecurity at 2 a.m. and they're up and nervous and excited can reach out to an assistant, Bree or Bernie or one of the B names that we chose, and get help when they need it the most. They're not alone, even if it's when our doors are closed and our phones aren't open. That's been amazing. Bulk discovery has been absolutely incredible. If you have not used this, you've got to use it because it really is a powerful mechanism for helping students discover the answers to the questions that they have when they have them. And it is something that we're using as well. I know that our advisors use Bolt Discovery to make sure that they're giving the right information to the students or to share a link with the students to help them do something. We are just cracking the surface with innovating through AI at Forsyth Tech, but we are moving forward at a rapid pace in embracing that this is the moment in time for us to not be fearful, but rather to lead the way. One of my favorite leadership role models is Simon Sinek. You guys know Simon Sinek? Awesome, right? He has a quote that I'm going to butcher, but I'm going to try to get it right. Maybe if I go to this screen, I have it here. Nope, I don't, but let me try to get it right. Simon says something like, you know, if you're going to innovate, you're not going to go ask somebody how to do it. Because the whole point of innovating is that you are blazing a path where there has never been a path, right? That's what we're all doing. That's where we all are. None of us know exactly yet where AI is going to lead us, but we certainly know that it's not going to go away. And if we are not prepared, and if we are not, again, aligned at least with where our students are with this whole conversation and use of AI, then we are not going to thrive. I question if we'll even survive, right? I want to thank you all so much for the opportunity this morning. I'm going to take questions if we have a few minutes. I think I've got 8 minutes and 48 seconds, Mallory. Yay! So, yes. But first, let me tell you one quick thing. So, I am not a proponent of Ray Kurzweil. I do think he's very interesting and very smart, but I did want to, I have a special gift for 4 of you, 2 from Forsyth Tech, since I got so many Forsyth Techers here and online, and the rest of you, 2 for you. There's a new book coming out July 16th. If you will, within the next 24 hours, so between now and let's say 10 o'clock tomorrow, go online, use the hashtag EngageSummit2024 and the hashtag ForsythTechAI, and just share an insight from something that you have heard and learned about at this conference this week. On tomorrow afternoon, I will use AI to randomly choose 2 of you and send you Ray Kurzweil's new book. I'll get in touch with you on social media. So LinkedIn would be great. You can use Twitter. I'll check both of them. Forsyth Tech, I got 2 books for you guys too. So you have to add the hashtag A Place of Promise with yours, okay? All right. So questions, anyone?
All right.
And I think we got Megan.
We have a question from a live stream viewer who is new to AI, really just starting to dip his toes into the AI waters. And he wants to know if you had one recommendation for what he should focus on first this summer, what is it?
Wow, one recommendation to focus on this summer. So if you're talking about focusing on getting started, then I think I'll give you 2 answers. My first one will be start with educating, right? Make sure that you, if you have time this summer, you're digging deep into the literature that's out there on what's available, on best practices, new things that people are doing, really kind of understand what this whole conversation is about and get some information around what it maybe is possible. If you are kind of past that and ready to implement, I think I would say connect, again, look and see what people are doing. I mentioned Simon saying if you're going to innovate, you can't go talk to people, but before you get to the innovation, you've got to, baby step there, right? And so see what's working, what other colleges are doing, maybe pick something small that they've done. Tutoring is a great example of, it's not small, but you can use AI for tutoring in some really incredible ways to help your students. So something like that, and just don't be afraid to launch. Sometimes we spend so much time planning that we never launch. And there was a movie about that, right, where a kid never moved out from home. Do y'all remember that? Something like that, failure to launch. Matthew McConaughey, right? I remember Matthew's movies. He's one of my favorites. So, bonus, the Calm app has Matthew McConaughey stories that will put you right to sleep at night. It's wonderful.
This has been a great presentation.
Thank you.
So my question is twofold.
Okay.
How has your school overcome the objections of AI in order to maintain academic integrity? And the second part, a little bit more personal.
Okay.
How would you encourage us to adopt AI but still learn the principles of hard work and diligence and discipline like what you learned on the tobacco farm?
Gosh, that's both of your questions are so good. So I don't think we have, that first question, we're working on that. That's a hard one. We have a faculty subcommittee of our AI task force that formed organically again. So that we could make sure that we are addressing those. I think the biggest thing, and I'll go back to something I heard Jamie say yesterday in her session, put the parameters around, take the time to talk to students and to explain to them what ethical responsible use is, what you're willing to accept and what you're not. Don't say to them, I don't think that you can say to them, don't use it, they're going to use it. So maybe what we need to do is help them understand how best to use it, right? If we don't want them writing their essays for the English class using ChatGPT, maybe they can use it to help them refine, and we can help them do that, right? I write drafts of memorandums I'm going to send, and I never send them until I've run them through ChatGPT 4.0 and Grammarly. Right? So help them use the tools responsibly and take ownership for how we're setting the parameters, but also helping them. The other thing is that I learned an awful lot about hard work, right? And I am an overachiever and work too hard sometimes because of those lessons on the tobacco field. But here's the thing, I don't think AI is asking us to stop using our brains. I think that you still are going to have to work hard even with the assistance of AI. It's just we're going to focus our work on maybe some higher level kinds of things. I was joking about reading War and Peace because I would not have spent my summer doing that if I had it free. But I can free up my time that I would have spent doing these other things, right? Still working really hard, but for greater impact and for more of those human things. If I can use AI to take a look at my calendar and redo the schedule for me to maximize efficiencies, or I've got prompts that I can pop my calendar into AI and it will look at everything I've done and create for me a draft report of what I'm going to send to my board to tell them I've been doing. If I don't have to spend all that time doing that, then I'm over here talking to students and I'm listening to find out what they need me to do, or I'm working with faculty and staff to advance things. I'm freeing up my time, not to sit and twiddle my thumbs, but to do something more. That's my take on your question. I hope that's helpful. You're so welcome.
We have time for one more question. Who is going to ask it? See how I use Melina Palmer? Yeah. Okay. I was paying attention. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As a person that works at a community college, I find it overwhelming sometimes how many people who are low income and disadvantaged are so less prepared. And I am concerned about when you talk about AI leveling the playing field, how are we going to be sure that everyone has access to that?
Yeah, really great question. So I totally am with you. I was one of those low-income students that I would not have, if I was growing up today, have many of the things that you need in order to really capitalize on AI. We wouldn't have had internet access, right? I was low income. But we at the college do, right? So I think that what we learned during COVID was students were going to go on home and have to learn online, and they didn't have internet access and they didn't have their computers, and we gave them those resources. I think we're going to have to make up for those gaps with what we are able to provide for them on campus, or loaner equipment, or it's going to be incumbent upon us to recognize that every student is not going to have all the resources and all the tools at home that they need. And so how are we going to bridge that gap for them through what we're able to do? And it is overwhelming. None of this is easy. I did not mean to sound like it was. It's really, really hard stuff. But it's the only way that we're ever going to potentially be able to level the playing field, because we can customize for those students who have who are unprepared in ways that we never have been able to before. In North Carolina, our community college system was built on meeting each and every student where they are and taking them as far as they can go. AI is the tool that opens the door for us to really be able to personalize and impact students right where they are in so many different ways, not without barriers that we're going to have to overcome, but certainly if we can figure out ways to mitigate those gaps that they have in underpreparedness, we can personalize their experience in ways that'll be phenomenal.
Jana, I actually have one more question for you. It got passed to me, and it's an excellent question, so we're going to ask it.
Okay.
All right. What approach do you have or recommend to bring faculty on board? There is some recognition that sometimes it can be very hard for someone who is AI-oriented to convince a faculty member that this is the future.
Right.
Or, as we know, this is the now.
Yeah, very, very, very good question. So first of all, I don't try to convince faculty of anything. I don't. I'm not that smart. Here's what I do. I think faculty, rightfully so, are just inquisitive and wanting to understand and wanting to know the why. So all you can do is give them the evidence of why. All you can do is help them understand the opportunities, the possibilities, and talk through them logically with information that will make them curious and that give them, I guess, some empowerment, if you will, to at least experiment and to give it a try. So instead of convincing, I think it's more about faculty want what's best for students. Every single person in the classroom wants that student in front of them, every one of them, to succeed. That's why they do what they do. We just have to help them understand that we can utilize this and how we can do it in ways that do not sacrifice academic rigor, that do not allow students to cheat, and give them the data and let them make an informed decision with the why. Does that make sense?
It does. Amazing.
Great.
Let's give it up for
Thank
Dr.
you.
Janet Spriggs.
Thank you so much.